May is National Stroke Awareness Month. Every year, about 795,000 people suffer a stroke in the United States, according to the CDC, and that's roughly 3% of the population. Last May, a woman from Houston County suffered a very rare type of stroke that has affected only 13 other people in the entire world. A year later, she is still recovering and now tells us what led up to her life-changing experience. Reporter Tyler Jobe has a story you'll only see on News 8 Now.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures.
Life is all about hope.
I'm very fortunate and happy to be here.
Lori West is a lifelong Houston County native. She is a wife and mom to 5 daughters. She also works as a floor nurse for Mayo-Clinic-Health-System in La Crosse.
Became a RN 24 years ago through WWTC.
Okay.
And I got a job at Franciscan's Camp at that time that went over to Mayo.
As someone who has treated many patients before and after surgery in the past, West decided to get a left knee replacement surgery of her own last year.
So I was really excited to have it. The day after Easter, I went in for my knee surgery. They did the knee surgery and that went just fine.
But she started developing stroke symptoms 11 days after the surgery.
My husband works PMs, and so I was sitting in the chair, and he always comes and says, well, good morning, you know, how are you feeling today? And I looked at him and I said, I don't know. And he goes, how are you feeling today? And I looked at him and I go, I don't know. He goes, we're going to the hospital. I said, good. And I grabbed my walker, and I beat him to the car. But by the time I got from here to about Hoka, I couldn't talk anymore.
She was taken to the emergency room at Mayo Clinic in La Crosse. But the stroke she suffered was one that affected just 13 other people in the world.
Lori had a hemorrhagic stroke and a thrombolytic stroke at the same time. So her brain was bleeding in one place, but a clot was preventing blood flow in another place. So that's kind of between a rock and a hard place for Lori.
Her conditions were serious enough that she was taken by a helicopter to Rochester.
I just closed my eyes and put my hands over my chest and just kept breathing, and the guy that was in the excuse me. The gentleman that was in the helicopter, then I just opened my eyes, looked out, and he looked at me and he just held my hand all the way up there. So I wasn't scared. and when I got there, then I didn't even know where, you know, they just got me there and rolled me in, and I thought I was in a regular hospital room, and here, days later, I figured out that I was in ICU.
Her platelets were very low. So blood platelets are little particles that help to prevent bleeding or stop bleeding. And in this situation, if your blood platelets are low, putting her on a blood thinning medication to treat the blood clot that she experienced is a very dangerous situation.
So what happened is my platelets, I think it's 150 is the norm, and I ended up going down to 37. And 37, when you get to 35, you bleed to death.
The platelets never stopped the bleeding from Lori's knee surgery, and the platelets spread all over her body.
It was your body's response to the stress of the surgery.
Yeah, I'm sure the surgery seemed like itself was fine.
Hematologist Rajiv Pruthi says a blood-thinning medication called heparin is usually given to patients after an orthopedic surgery, including knee replacements. West was treated with aspirin instead of heparin, and blood clots developed in her brain.
So we think she's the first and only case of this situation to be recognized, treated, and who's done very well after her surgery.
So well, she even made sure she was part of her daughter Jenny's junior prom celebration, even though she was still in the hospital. Lori stayed in the hospital for 20 days before being released and is still recovering at home.
She's said that our whole life. We're very fortunate. Overachievers. See, how can this happen to you? Just basic person, you know?
And I am a basic person. I'm about as plain as you get. I'm about as plain as you get, that's for sure.
Some might argue Lori isn't ordinary at all.
Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil.
Getting her prayers answered and surviving extraordinary odds.
Thy rod and my staff, they comfort me.
Tyler Jobe, News 8 Now,
I must still have a purpose, because that's why I'm here.
Houston County.
Wow, great to see her doing so well. And Lori says she is about 95% recovered from her stroke. She hopes to be fully recovered by the fall.